but I go full throttle. Hey everyone, it's Ben Hardy here, and in today's video, we're going to be going over the all-new Nissan Altima with the turbocharged engine. Before we get into this video though, as always, if you want to save time and money the next time you purchase a car, link to my car buying guide in the description down below, and let's get into it. So under the hood, we have a turbocharged 2-liter 4-cylinder that goes through an Xtronic CVT. Fuel economy is 25 around town and then 34 on the highway, with power outputs being 236 horsepower and then 267 pound-feet of torque. Before we go over the front end, I do want to mention, if you see more videos just like this, then I recommend you subscribe because I post content every single day. Starting with the hood here, you guys can see you've got distinctive lines there on either side, and this blue paint looks pretty sweet. Coming down below, you guys can see you've got the Nissan logo there in the center. It's Nissan's new logo with like the white print. You got the SR badge right next to that. And then I like the daytime running lights. Those look pretty cool. And how everything's like blacked out in the center, that also kind of like adds to it. And putting together everything there on the front end, the new Altima looks pretty mean. Coming around the side here, our tire and wheel setup is 235/40/19 in the front and over in the rear as well. And then you guys can see you actually have the little SR badge there, or logo rather, on the wheel. It's all blacked out around silver there on the top portion, and I actually think it's a pretty good looking wheel. And then putting it all together, you actually have some like silver trim there on the windows that matches what you have on the wheels. The mirrors are blacked out, and you know, pretty good looking side profile. So here's a key fob for the Altima. Nothing happened there on the back, but on the front, you guys can see you got remote start, you've got your lock function, unlock function, and then this basically just like slightly unlatches the rear. You do have to lift it up the rest of the way yourself. Now, when it comes to storage space, the Altima is actually really solid. You guys can see the Altima logo there in the center, and then we have these little buttons right here to lower down these seats so you have even more storage space. And for those of you wondering, yes, it does have a spare tire. Plop. Now, popping over to the taillights, you guys can see nothing too crazy happening there, but the design looks pretty cool. You got your badges here on the back, which also look pretty cool. Parking sensors here at the bottom. And then we got pretty decently aggressive looking exhaust tips there with the diffuser. And putting it all together, I think the styling here on the new Altima is pretty good. And I also forgot to show you guys, we got the VC turbo badge back there too. Now here's the door panel in the rear. You guys can see the padding here, and then look at the two colors of stitching. That's pretty cool. Got some piano black trim. I know everyone loves that. Decent storage space in the door panel too. And then here are these seats. Sorry, the camera doesn't want to focus on these back seats for some reason. But anyways, you guys can see the cool stitching design kind of continues onto the seats. And then look at like the coloration there in the center. Definitely kind of fancy. And then when it comes to legroom, it's actually pretty decent. I do like the coloration of the floor mats, kind of feels retro, I suppose. And then I got some vents here, USBs, and then look, we got a little storage pocket. And then headroom's actually pretty solid too. And of course, cup holder armrest. With the front door panel, you guys can see the silver trim that just goes across to the door handle. We do have blind spot monitoring for the mirrors, but it actually shows up right there. And then look at the stitching design. Yet again, all of our window controls, notice just the driver one is automatic. Get your mirror adjustments, and then again, decent storage space there on the panel. Now it looks like the camera likes to focus on the front seats a little bit more. Slightly cooler design there on the bolsters of the seats. Still have that cool design in the center as well. And then the seat is power adjustable. Normal pedal layout, and then you guys can see here with the somewhat dirty floor mat, but cool with the coloration on it. And then we got like your gas cap release right there. And this is actually for your steering assist. That's to open up the trunk, and then the steering wheel is manually adjustable. Now here's the steering wheel. It's actually really nice. So soft touch all around. You got the contrasted stitching in the center, paddle shifters for that Xtronic CVT. This does have adaptive cruise control again, as well as steering assist. So it basically drives itself on the highway. Not a perfect system, but pretty good. Controls for the center stack, and then you got like your radio volume controls, you know, all the normal stuff. And then turn signal / light stock, windshield wiper stock. Now with the center gauge cluster, it's, well, mostly analog, but you do have a screen here in the center which lets you scroll through different bits of info here on the car. And you guys can see this one's actually relatively brand new in terms of like the mileage. It only has 1,300 miles on it, but you can see what I've been averaging when it comes to fuel economy. Now, unlike the Camry and the Accord, this actually has a 360 camera system. So you guys can see we've got a backup camera, you got that bird's eye view as well, although the backup camera is kind of messy. But if I put it into park and then press this camera button, notice you've got the front camera that'll pop on, side camera as well. So solid camera system. Now, as for the infotainment system, response time with the screen is fantastic. It's actually really easy to use, and I think it's actually a really good unit overall. And I like that there's a bunch of different ways. Like, I can basically like use this little control to change the channel if I want. Again, there's a control on the steering wheel. So I don't have any complaints about it, and I'm glad there's still some analog buttons down below. Dual zone climate system here with the Altima, and we have heated seats and a heated steering wheel as well. We have our little charging area here with some USBs, and you guys can see like a 12 volt and then a wireless phone charging pad. Here's our shifter for that Xtronic CVT, and notice we also have like an L as well as a D, so D is just regular drive. This is if you want it to be at higher RPM, so like if you're going down like a really steep descent, and then look at the stop start button right in front of it and the stitching next to that. And then you guys probably saw a couple cup holders, parking brake, auto hold, and then center console with more of that cool stitching. Decent storage space, and then glove box, also decent. And then you have like this carbon fiber print on the dash. And then we do have a manual mirror dimmer right here. Sunroof, normal sunroof, and lighter colored headliner. So here's a window sticker for this Altima. You guys can see all the standard equipment right there, and then you guys can see the base MSRP versus the total MSRP, so $36,440. I just reviewed a Camry V6 XSE this week, and that stickered for about just over $40,000, so this is less expensive than, you know, the Camry that is trying to compete against. Let's see how it drives. Let's talk about visibility before we set off. Here's your visibility over the hood. Both of the mirrors, like I said, they do have a blind spot, and then throughout the rest of the rear. And let's set off. So, setting off in this turbo Altima, and I do not think it's a coincidence that this has the same amount of torque as a V6 Camry, 267, and the V6 Camry has 267. But this is obviously down on power quite a bit compared to the Camry, because that's got, you know, over 300 horsepower, where this has low 200s. But, you know, I'm sure that Nissan would say something like, torque is all that matters in a car like this. And hey, you know, fair enough with how people drive them, probably. But I go full throttle. You can see it's actually decently quick, and you guys probably noticed the transitions with the CVT are actually also pretty quick. This Xtronic CVT, in my opinion, is the best, like, it doesn't shift, but you guys got him saying transitioning CVT. Like, look at this. Okay, press, press, press. It's like as responsive as a lot of like really good torque converter automatics. That being said, though, you still have like the long transition thing with the CVTs, where like if this was a torque converter automatic, it would have like the world's longest first gear ever, if that makes sense. So it still, you know, suffers from that. But I mean, for being a CVT, it's pretty dang good, and the torque you get out of this turbocharged engine is so good compared to like the naturally aspirated Altima. This thing just, it kicks a lot of butt. It's really solid. It's comfortable when it comes to ride quality. Seat comfort's pretty good as well. I've been daily driving this, and I don't really have any complaints about the car. I think it's a really good car all around. So I guess that's that'll get me into summing things up, and I guess giving my quote-unquote advice to Nissan, if I'm even qualified to do that. But before we do that, we got to get another acceleration, because, you know, let's just crank it, and I can't get this car to slip out. Like, no matter how, like, what, like in the rain, in the snow, I've done everything to like get this car to like lose traction. It doesn't really lose traction. It's strange because it's front wheel drive. So you think that it's going to torque steer like crazy and it's going to get a ton of wheel slip, but it doesn't. I think part of that's because it has a CVT. I think if this car had like a manual or something like that, then it would just be like bum, 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 bum. But anyways, summing things up, here's the deal. I think this car looks really good. Nissan nailed it with the styling. Interior styling is also really good. Like, the infotainment system's great. Like, this car is pretty dang good. However, I think that Nissan should have put their 9-speed automatic in this instead of a CVT. I think the person that's buying a more expensive commuter type car like this probably wants a regular automatic. And that, I mean, look at Toyota. They put an 8-speed automatic in their Camry. So I think that, you know, I think that only makes sense. And then if they really wanted to bring the fight to the Camry, I think they should have done two other things. Give this more power than what it has, because this doesn't beat the Camry. It's the same when it comes to torque. Yes, it's turbocharged, that torque comes on at a lower amount, and it does way better at elevation compared to a Camry, but it still doesn't beat it. And then also, I think they should have given this all-wheel drive, because then they would have had like something to brag about, because the Accord, front-wheel drive, the Camry, front-wheel drive, this front-wheel drive. But if they had made it all-wheel drive, then they could have said, hey, we are the only ones in this particular segment with all-wheel drive, buy from us instead. And then if they had their 9-speed automatic, I think that would really seal the deal for a lot of people. But overall, I think it's actually a really good car. I do like it. It's very comfortable. This particular segment's just not really exciting. This is more about, like, I guess, commuting and all that kind of stuff. And like I said, this does a dang good job at that. But I will say this is probably going to look kind of silly when the new Camry comes out. I think it's going to be 2024, 2025, and that thing's going to have a turbocharged 4-cylinder just like this, but it'll be paired to a regular torque converter automatic. And so, yeah, I don't know. Let me know what you guys think about the new Altima. I think overall it's a solid car, and I'm glad that Nissan's making it. I think that's the big thing is, you know, we finally have like a more exciting Altima instead of just the regular naturally aspirated 4-cylinder version. That's gonna sum things up with our video on this Altima. I will see all of you in that next video.